For unity, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition was founded on specific ideals and principles, among others, justice, accountability, democracy, and social protection. It is upon the four stated principles that the Azimio coalition flag bearer was unanimously chosen and the party structures put in place. Unfortunately, and devoid of consultation or concurrence of the coalition, an Azimio-affiliated party has since donated its top officials for appointment as cabinet secretaries in the current government. This is in spite of the fact that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition is firmly in opposition as a check and balance on the government. And indeed, in our constitutional structure, there are two sides, the government and the opposition. Those who win the election form the government. Those who lose the election form the opposition, which has a cardinal role to play in advancing a democracy. If the recent protests by the gallant youth of Kenya is anything to go by, the current government has lost credibility and the confidence of the people. While the foregoing is as clear as day, peaceful demonstrators agitating for a better future have been met with disproportionate use of force, exacerbated by rising cases of daylight abductions and extrajudicial killings, which are an eerie reminder of the pre-constitutional days. Therefore, the inclusion of members from an Azimio-affiliated party in government is untenable. Neither can the same be considered a government of national unity. As a matter of fact, all indicators point to a government united against the people, who continue to anchor for change, reduced cost of living, better living standards, rule of law, and justice. It is against this backdrop that we as PNU cannot, in good conscience, follow our brothers from a section of the Azimio coalition into the government. That would go against the party ideals upon which our party was founded. Our support for the ongoing protests, dubbed Gen Z protests, was never about enjostle for positions. Neither was it about sharing of power among a few of us. We therefore choose to err on the side of accountability, on the side of the Constitution of Kenya, and the principles that made us as a democratic nation. Anchored upon the foregoing, the Party of National Unity, as a constituent party of Azimio coalition, at a special NEC meeting held today, resolved as follows. One, that the Party of National Unity hereby gives notice to the chairperson of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party to immediately convene a meeting of all Azimio constituent parties where an inclusive resolution should be reached on the way forward for the coalition. Because the current situation where we have members of Azimio in government and others in opposition is untenable. And therefore, a formal meeting, convened very urgently to discuss the current status of the coalition and decide on our way forward is the only way to resolve the issues that are currently bedeviling this coalition. Number two, that the Party of National Unity rejects any attempts at having a national conversation devoid of a legal framework. The same is a waste of time meant to doing Kenyans and buy more time for the current regime. Number three, that the Party of National Unity stands for a strong and formidable opposition which is capable of checking government from without government and devoid of conflict of interest for the benefit of the people of Kenya. Number four, that any purported national conversation must be anchored in law and be preceded by the immediate release of all detained political prisoners. Indeed, we call them Gen Z who have been arrested and detained by political prisoners, for that is what they are. And the protesters. Compensation to the families of those who lost their lives and compensation to those who lost property. Number five, that the PNU demands for justice for all those who were maimed and killed by the police while exercising their constitutional right to picket, demonstrate, and protest. Number six, that the constitutional rights are not negotiable, and all Kenyan citizens with the will to continue protesting should feel free to do so. In this regard, we fully support the Nane planned protests. And we warn the police and whoever else may want to cause mayhem to desist from doing so. We have not suspended the constitutionally guaranteed rights of our citizens. And the fact that somebody feels that they have been able to move ahead by incorporating opposition into government is neither here nor there. We continue safeguarding our constitutional rights as guaranteed in the Constitution. Number seven, that in the interim, the Party of National Unity shall continue to hold talks with like-minded political parties towards the restructuring of the Azimio coalition. We are saying the Azimio coalition as currently constituted is untenable, and therefore we are already in discussions with other party members, including Jubilee and DAP and others, to see how to change the trajectory of that coalition. As currently constituted and the way the coalition is moving, it is taking us back to the dark days when we used to, whenever there is a problem, you would incorporate opposition in government, kill opposition, and then continue doing whatever you wanted to do. And it is important to make it clear that under our current constitutional setup, there is no way you can set a government of national unity. There is no animal like that in our constitution. If you read our constitution carefully and clearly, you will see there is no animal in the constitution called government of national unity. That is a creation of self-serving politicians who want to reap from the suffering of the Kenyan people. If you want to form a government that includes opposition, then you have got to amend the constitution to provide for that. People have forgotten, we are not in a parliamentary system. We are in a presidential system where government is clearly defined and opposition is clearly defined. And the opposition seats are actually in parliament. That's where we have minority leader, deputy minority leader, whips. We have them sharing critical positions in parliament. We don't have opposition in government. If you create an opposition in government, then you are going against the grain of our constitutional setup. You are creating a mumbo jumbo. That is not going to take us anywhere. And Kenyans are tired of this music, musical chairs where you move one chair this side and then you move it another side without addressing the underlying issues that are affecting the citizens. Our economy is in very bad shape. Companies are closing. Key gains that we have had for over the years are being watered down. Poor people can't take their children to school now. The insurance that people are relying on, even if it had some challenges, has been scrapped and something else created. We don't have medicine in our hospitals. Everything is crumbling. I don't think people went into the street to protest so that you can have an inclusion of a few people in government. That is why we are saying it is not a government of national unity. It's indeed a government united against the people. Tukifunga kwa Kiswahili tunasema fumbo mfumbie mjinga, mwerevu amekwisha jua